Hey guys, this is Megasoft Pro. How's everyone doing? Today I'm going to be showing you this really cool tutorial on how to make this awesome intro. You can use this intro for your YouTube channel or pretty much anything you want. So let's check out a preview. Okay guys, that was pretty cool. So before we get started, I just want to explain how this works. I'm using a radio waves to generate this cool kind of shape and find edges, CC Mr. Mercury for the water effects, and CC bubbles, CC rainfall, and two flares. And for the background, I'm actually using a footage I found on the internet. So it's a low poly black background. It's a moving background. So to get this, just open your browser, head over to Production Create, which I will leave a link down in the description. And we're just create an account, a basic account. You don't have to donate or anything. It's for free. Put your first name and last name and everything. And after you're done, go on Video, Backgrounds, and go ahead and download this low poly background. Just click on it, download. And to import it, just double click on your project and locate it, then just import it. Okay, so without further ado, let's just start. Okay guys, we're going to create a new composition and we're going to name this intro. Keep this 1920 by 1080 at 24 frames per second and at 10 seconds. Just keep it 10 seconds. The color doesn't really matter. Click OK. And before we add a solid here, just make sure you have effects and presets, the window right here, because we're going to be using it a lot. If you don't have that, just go to Window and Effects and Presets. So create a new solid, and we're going to name this Shape and Rain. We're gonna search radio, and we're going to add in radio waves. As you can see, it's generating this elapse. So to change that, go to Polygon, and what I did is I put it to 4 sides, which gives me this kind of shape. Like I said in the beginning of the tutorial, you can make this your own logo or something, I don't know, any shape you want. So if we go to the pen tool here, just click on this, then to the pen tool, and just make a random shape here. If we go to wave type, choose mask, and we can see here, this is mask 1, so here we put mask 1. As you can see, we're getting this kind of shape. And we can put any kind of shape we want, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, we're just going to stick with our normal shape, so I'm just going to close that, and we're going to put it on Polygon. We're going to keep it at 4 sides, and if we scroll down just a bit, we're going to change the frequency to 0.3 and the direction to 130 and the color to white, the start width to 1, the end width 40. And what this does is that in the beginning it's thin, and as we scrub over it gets thicker. So that gives it, a cooler look. Now to colorize this, we're going to be using gradient ramp. Just search ramp. We're going to add that in here. And the color, the first color, is going to be blue. You can choose which colors you want, doesn't really matter. Something like this. The end color is going to be red. And the start of the ramp is going to be right here. The end is going to be right here. You can obviously change here, so we're just going to keep it that way. And the blend, 5%. That's pretty much it. We're just going to add a glow here. So search glow, and we're going to add that in here. We're just going to put the radius to 100% and the threshold to 56%. So we have this kind of thing. Okay, and now we're going to add the rainfall. just type in rain, add that in. Okay, now it's very important to keep these in order, so we're going to put rainfall right here so it can get colorized by the gradient ramp, and keep the color at white. We're just going to change the size to 1.9 and 5050, the speed to 620, keep the wind 0 and the velocity to 57%, 57, and spread 7.7. That's pretty much it. We're not going to change anything else here. We can close out of that. Okay, so let's head over to our next step. Okay, so now we're going to duplicate this, and what we're going to do is add find edges, add that here, and we're just going to delete the rainfall. We have something like this, and in find edges just click invert, blend with original, no, just keep that to 0. If we head down here, we're just going to rename this. Find edges, and we're going to go to transform, and we're just going to scale this down to about this much. This much is pretty good. And as you can see, the color isn't really that good, so it's not matching our original one. So we're just going to change that just a bit. Okay, that looks a lot better. And now we're going to add the two flares, the red one and the blue one right here. So we're going to create an adjustment layer, and we're going to add a flare here. Before we drop this in, just want to toggle these switches, turn this off, and make these, turn on the motion blur, drop this down here, and if you don't have this, just click F4, doesn't really matter, put this on screen. Okay, so we're going to go to options, and I'm sorry the screen is a bit small here, I'm not really sure what the reason is, but we're just going to delete everything really quickly, and we're just going to add a glow. We're not going to be changing here anything of the settings here, we're just going to add a glow. Click OK. As you can see, we have a glow here. So we're just going to put the brightness down to 90, the color, we don't want the blue too dark, so I'm just going to keep it like this, and we're going to add it right here. That's better. Okay. And one thing that I've added is a flicker. So what a flicker does here, if we add a flicker, is it turns it off and on, continuously and pretty fast. So like in the original one, as you can see here, it's turning on and off. It's not really seeable. I'm sorry, it's okay. Just gonna go back to the intro. I'm gonna show you it here. And we're gonna put the speed to about 35, the amount to 50. Just gonna show you right here. As you can see, it's turning off and on. Gives it a really cool effect here. You can make this a bit higher, doesn't really matter. Well, it's 40, maybe 40, looks a lot better. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to rename this to flare blue. We're just going to duplicate this by Control D if you're on a Mac. Go to layer and edit and duplicate. I'm going to rename this to red. We're not going to change much. We're just going to change the color and the position. So position, just click right here, is somewhere right here as well. The color to red. And that looks pretty much perfect. Good. Now let's move on to the next step. Okay, so now we're going to add our bubbles. And to do that, we're just going to duplicate our original solid. And what we're going to do is delete CC rainfall. And we're going to add CC bubbles. As you can see, I'm just going to put that here. And we're just going to change a bit of the settings here to bubble amount to 200, the speed to 1.3, the frequency to 2, and we're just going to leave the bubble size. As you can see, we get something like this. Now the reason that it's not really visible is because we're going to add another type of bubbles, so you know this shouldn't really be too visible. So okay. Just going to rename this to bubbles, and we're going to add our second layer of bubbles. Just click new and adjustment layer. We're going to drag that to the bottom, turn this off, and rename this to bubbles 2. And we're going to add our CC bubbles. Right here. As you can see, we get something like this. And to colorize this, we're going to use the same thing. We're just going to go ahead to our original one, copy the gradient ramp, paste that here. We're going to put this on top. And we're also going to add CC drizzle. Put that on top. Oh no, wait, this is on bottom, and CC bubbles is on top. Okay, that's better. So we're not going to change anything here, so let's just close that. And we're going to change a bit of the bubbles here, so we're going to put the amount to 100, the bubble speed to 1.1, and this to 10.3, the frequency to 2, and the bubble size to about 1.8. And we're going to change the shading type from fade inwards to lighten. We're going to have something like this. As you can see, they're just cool kind of bubbles. And what CC drizzle does is, you know, I'm just going to change that to 3.9. Okay, so as you can see, the bubbles are actually getting affected, and this is, you know, just giving an effect like the rain is touching the bubbles, and you know the bubbles are wobbly and stuff. So it gives it a pretty cool thing. And especially after we add the water effect kind of thing, it's going to be really cool. So let's go ahead and add that right now. We're just going to duplicate our original solid again. Delete CC rainfall. And we're going to search Mr. Mercury. So just write MER. Drag that in. And you get something like this. So we're just going to change a bit of the settings here. The velocity to 2. The birth rate to 1.5. Well, so the same thing. The gravity is 0.3. Keep the resistance 0, extra 0, and 0.47. And the blob depth size is, just keep it the same thing. As you can see, we have something like this. The reason why we duplicated this and we put Mr. Mercury is because now the water is generating on this kind of shape. So if I disable this, it's going to be looking all weirdish and stuff. So enable that back, and we're just going to rename this to water. It's kind of a water electric effect. Okay, so let's move on to our next step. Okay, so now we're going to import our footage. So we're just going to drag this and put it under our blue flare. And we're just going to toggle the switches by F4, or just clicking this button over here. And we're going to make this on screen. It's going to look something like this. And since our footage is only 6 seconds long, to make this longer, just right click, time stretch, and we're going to make it 10 seconds. And as you can see, it's perfectly fine now. It's 10 seconds. If yours was longer, just make it longer. It doesn't really matter. Okay. So as you can realize, the color of the flare isn't really matching our shape. So we're just going to make this a bit darker. Maybe 110 on the brightness. And we're going to make this a bit darker. Okay, that's a lot better. Okay. Now before we add in our text, I just want to animate our bubbles and the water so they appear in after about a second or so, not right away, so it looks a bit better. To do that, just click on our bubble and Control, Water, and Bubbles 2, and T on your keyboard for opacity. And we're just going to click here to make a keyframe. We're going to make all of them 0. We're going to move about 1 second or so, about right here. And we're going to make all of them 100. Now, as you can see, they slowly appear as this shape is growing, so it looks pretty good. Okay, now we're going to add in our text. Right click, New Text, and I'm going to name this MSP. Okay, so now I downloaded this cool font called Autobahn. I'm not really sure how this is pronounced. I will leave a link down in the description for this font. It's pretty cool. You could use this. Now, as you can see, okay, so to colorize this, we're just going to copy our gradient ramp from our original solid. Control C, copy. And once we paste it, you can see it's perfectly fine. It's really nice. Okay, and now we're just gonna customize this just a bit so it can make it pretty cool. As you can see, looks pretty nice. And another thing is the P is a lot, it's very, very red, so it doesn't really look that good. So to adjust that, we could just go on our gradient ramp and move this just a slight bit down here. That looks pretty good. Maybe move that right here somewhere. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now, we want this to grow as the shape is growing. So to do that, if we go ahead and scale this right now, as you can see, it's scaling from the bottom. So it's growing from this point right here. We want it to grow from the center. So you go to the pen behind tool, and we're going to drag this to the center, somewhere right here. So that's pretty good. And now, as you can see, it's growing from the center. Okay, let's animate this so it can grow with our shape. Just gonna keep it like this, maybe. Okay, let's go from the beginning, and we're gonna make this smaller. Zoom in here. Okay, that looks pretty good. And we're going to put a keyframe on our scale. We're going to move to about 2 seconds maybe. Make this bigger. Go ahead and put this on fit. And we're going to make this a bit bigger as well. And as you can see, I'm sorry, it's a bit slow, but if we put this on quarter, it's a bit better. Okay, as you can see, it's growing with our shape. Okay, guys, now we're pretty much done. So that's pretty much it. We're all done. I just wanted to show you one extra tip you could do to make this look a lot cooler. So you can see here there's bubbles and rain and stuff and water, and the text isn't really, it's not doing anything. It's not moving. It's just growing up and just stays there. So if we want to animate this and make it look a bit cooler, like a water effect, we can add turbulent displace. So if you add that, now I didn't add that in the original intro I showed you in the beginning, because it looks good, but not, it doesn't really look perfect. But this is just an extra thing I just want to show you guys. So if we head over here on our effects, turbulent displace, and we're just going to set a keyframe here on the amount. So we're going to make this 0. And we're going to put a keyframe, maybe right here somewhere. And it goes to 40. So as you can see, you might not really see it. The quality is not really good. And we're going to play around with the evolution here. As you can see when you... One second, guys. Not really sure what's wrong. As you can see, when I'm playing with the evolution here, it's just moving. So it's like that. So if we keyframe the evolution as well, maybe somewhere from 1 second, make this 0. Keyframe right here, all the way maybe to the end, and we can put this on 3. And as you can see, you got something like this. So it's moving. It looks pretty cool, as you can see. So you can play around with this. Maybe make this high. Okay, so we're pretty much done here. Nothing else really left to do. And the others I just showed you from the beginning are basically the same thing. I didn't really change much. I really changed the colors. I duplicated our text. So what I did here was I duplicated the text. Oh, my bad. The text. If we turn off turbulent displace for just a second, let's put this. If you duplicate the text and put it under our original text, and scale it down from the keyframes. So make this smaller. Go ahead over here. Make it smaller again. And as you can see, you get this 3D kind of look. Looks like something like this. And maybe you can add a glow here as well. You know what? We're not going to add a glow. It doesn't really matter. You can add a glow. It's personal preference. Okay, so we're pretty much done here. That's pretty much it. And before we end this video, I just want to say a couple of things. I did create this by myself. I didn't go on YouTube and search, how to make this or anything. I did create it by myself. However, I did start from radio waves, so it's all an experiment. So I just started from radio waves, just to generate this kind of shape. I put some Mr. Mercury and, find edges, and, it just became like that. So it's all about experiment. And this channel is new. As you can see, this is my first video on After Effects. I will be uploading a lot more videos soon, every week or so. I hope, I put a lot of work and effort to this video. It wasn't easy at all to make this. So it would be really nice if you guys would just put a like, maybe a comment on a question or anything you want regarding this video or anything else. It doesn't really matter. And that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. This is Megasoft Pro. See you guys later.